this is Anne-Marie from Alma Surfside. I'd like to welcome everyone back to another beading tutorial, and for those of you who don't know me, I have an Etsy shop where I sell handmade surf and beach inspired jewelry, and I also have an Instagram account which is Alma Surfside 7. So if you'd like to follow both of those accounts, that would be great. You could keep up with my latest work. And of course, we've been doing a lot of beading tutorials over the last couple of years. And I'm really happy to show you guys this necklace that I came up with. So this is our project for today. And it's a rectangular piece. So each segment has, a rectangular shape that's joined to the next. And I've used size 11 seed beads. I've used some bugle beads and size 15 seed beads. So it's a very linear piece, and you could pretty much make anything with this pattern. You could make an anklet, you could make a bracelet, earrings, and of course a necklace. So it's a very versatile pattern, and it has a lot of flex and a lot of movement. So it's great in terms of all of the different applications that you can use this for. Okay, so what you're going to need today in terms of beading supplies is fireline, and I always go with 6 pound or 0.006. Okay, and you're going to need size 11 beads. That's what you see in my first pile on my mat. And these beads are navy blue opaque matte. Okay, these are by Toho, so that's what they look like. In the second pile on my mat, you see check number 2 bugle beads. So that's this pack here. And these are in opaque white. Okay, if you're using any other type of bugle bead, they're about 5 millimeters, okay, just for reference. And you'll also need seed beads in size 15, and these are in galvanized silver, okay, again by Toho, and that's what they look like. Okay, so you only need 3 different types of beads for this project, which is great. You don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of special supplies. And of course you're going to need scissors to cut your fire line. And it's always helpful to have flat nose pliers to work with the jump rings at the end of your project when we go to do the closure. Okay. Other than that, of course, for the closure, you'll need a lobster claw. And I've chosen silver because I've used silver beads in the necklace. And you'll need 2 jump rings as well. Okay. So I want you to gather all your materials and let's get started. Okay, so just a quick overview of what we're going to cover in today's tutorial. So you'll notice that each rectangular segment has a total of 4 of these size 11 seed beads and a total of 2 bugle beads, okay, at the top and bottom of each rectangle. And then I've gone in with size 15s to fill in the corners. Okay, so that's how we're going to proceed. And then for the connector, I've used 2 size 15 seed beads in order to join to the next rectangular shape. Okay, so that's the sequence that we're going to follow. I'm going to go through this about 3 times, and then I'll show you how I did the closure. Okay, if you need a review, of course you can go back in the video and just re-watch those 3 segments. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to leave myself about 6 to 10 inches at the very base of my thread in order to leave enough slack for the closure. Okay, that's always a good gauge of what you need to leave. And I'm going to start off the rectangular segment by picking up 2 of my size 11 seed beads in blue. And I'm going to push those down on my thread. And I'm going to go up through the first bead that I added. Okay. Okay, so you want to have your 2 seed beads sitting there side by side. And it's always a good idea to reinforce that. So I'm going to go down the right and up the left and back down the right. just so that they're sitting side by side and they're not too wobbly. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pick up another size 11 seed bead, again in the same color, and I'm going to attach it to the previous bead. So right now my working thread is coming down the bottom of the bead on the right hand side, and I'm going to insert my needle into the top part of that bead, so the opposite side. And that way it's going to sit side by side, okay, with the previous bead. Okay, again we're going to reinforce it, so go up the right, go down the left, and back up the right, and pull tight. Okay, so the 3 beads are sitting there side by side, and we're going to need one more. Okay, so another size 11 in blue. My working thread is now coming out of the top of the previous bead, so I'm going to go through the opposite side, or the bottom, and pull on my thread. Okay, now they're sitting side by side. I'm going to go down the right and up the previous bead, and back down the right. Okay, so that's what you want to have. They should be sitting side by side, all 4 of them. Okay, so now that I'm coming out of the bead there on the far right hand side, I'm coming out of the bottom, and now I'm ready to pick up one of my size 2 bugles. Okay, and I'm going to insert my needle here on the left hand side through the bottom hole. So I've skipped 2 beads in the center, and now I'm coming up the left hand side. Okay, so the idea is that you want the bugle to be flush against the seed beads sitting there in the center. Okay, again, the thread came out of the 4th one and I went up to the 1st one there, skipping 2 in the center. And now I'm on the other side. Okay, my working thread is coming up here on the left, and I'm going to pick up another number 2 bugle, and I'm going to skip 2 beads again and go down this bead here on the far right. Okay, so you should have the bugle sitting flush against the seed beads sitting there in the center. And now, as I mentioned before, we're going to fill in the gaps with size 15 seed beads. So I'm going to pick up one of those in silver. Okay, and let's see, where am I? I'm up here at the top. Okay, so I'm going to go down the bugle bead sitting there on the right hand side, pull tight on my thread. Okay, I'm going to rotate my piece, pick up another size 15, and I'm going to go down the bead sitting there on the far right, pull on my thread. Okay, so now that I'm coming out of the right hand side there at the top, I'm going to go ahead and pick up another size 15 seed bead. Okay, I'm going to go down the bugle, rotate my piece. Okay, and there's one more gap to fill in, right? So we're going to pick up another size 15 seed bead, and I'm going to go down the blue bead sitting there in the center. Okay, pull tight on your thread so that your rectangle, you know, it doesn't have any loose beads hanging out of it. You want to make sure that everything is nice and snug. And then to do the connector, all we're going to do is pick up one of our size 15s, one of our size 11s, another 15. Okay, so you have a total of 3 beads on your needle right now, a 15, 11, 15. And we're going to go through the opposite side of that bead sitting there in the center. Okay, the blue seed bead. Okay, and you're going to want to reinforce that connector by going through all of the beads that you just added on. There we go. Okay, pull tight. And now we're ready for our next rectangle. So to do that rectangle, we're going to pick up another size 11 seed bead in blue. And my thread's coming out of the top, so I'm going to insert my needle into the bottom. Okay, they're sitting side by side again, so we're going to reinforce it by going down the right and up the left. Okay, and back down the right. Okay, so basically you're just going to want to go through those beads twice in order to make them stronger. And we're going to pick up another size 11. I'm going to go through the top part of that bead since my thread is coming out of the other side. Go up the right, down the left, and back up the right. Okay, so that's what you should have. And we need one more to finish off that row. There we go. Okay. Down the right, up the previous bead, and down the right. There we go. Okay. And at this point, I'm ready to pick up one of my bugle beads. Okay. Again, I'm coming out of the very last bead in that row, and I'm going to skip 2 and insert my needle up the very first one there on the far left. Okay. I'm going to pick up another bugle. And I'm going to insert my needle on the bead at the end of the row. Okay, so that's what it should look like at this point. And of course we're going to go around that rectangle with our size 15 beads, okay, to fill in all of those empty gaps. I'm going to pick up a 15, go down the bugle, pick up another 15, and I'm going to go up that seed bead there on the left. Rotate my rectangle. Okay, now I'm coming out of the right hand side. Go down the tube. Okay, and finally one last size 15, and I'm going to go through the blue bead in the center. Okay, so that's what your piece should look like at this point. Let's go through that one more time. So I'm going to make a connector by picking up a size 15, a size 11, and another size 15. Okay, so you should have 3 beads on your needle at this point. You're going to go through the opposite side of that seed bead in the center. Okay, and then of course you're going to want to reinforce that by going through all of the beads that you just added on. Coming up the bead on the right hand side, the 15, and now I'm going to go through the 11. Okay. Okay, so we're ready to create another row for our rectangle. So I'm going to pick up a size 11, go through the opposite side of that bead, pull tight, and reinforce that. Okay. I'm going to pick up another bead. This will be the third one in my row. Oops, can't see the bead. There we go. Okay, and go through the opposite side. Go up the right. Down the left, and back up the right. Okay, so we have 3, and of course we're going to need our 4th one. Another size 11. Go up the previous bead, down the new bead, up, and down. Okay, now we're ready for our bugle beads, so I'm going to pick up one of my number 2s here, and I'm going to skip 2 of the beads here in the center, and I'm going to put my needle up the very first one in that row. Okay, another size 2. I'm going to go down the very last bead in that row on the far right and pull tight on my thread. Okay, so you just want to make sure that they're sitting nice and tight against the seed beads there in the center. And now we're ready to fill in all of the gaps with our size 15s. So I'm going to pick up one. I'm going to go down the bugle. I'm going to pick up another size 15 and go up the first bead there in that row on the far left. Okay. Another 15. I'm going to go down the bugle sitting there on the right. And one more 15. And I'm going to go down the bead sitting there in the center. Okay. Pull tight on your thread. Okay, so that's the design that you're going to carry on with until you reach the desired length of your bracelet or necklace or earrings, whatever you've decided to make today. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get my necklace and I'm going to go over the closure. Okay, so the closure, what I've used for this piece are 7 of my size 15 beads. Okay, just doing a little loop there at the end of my piece. And you can also use size 11 seed beads if you prefer. In that case, I would recommend using 5 of those size 11s instead of 7 of the size 15s, just because, you know, they're larger beads, so you don't really need as many. Okay, but in this case, I've decided to use my smaller beads. I think it's, you know, just a little bit more elegant for the closure. Okay, so what you want to do for the closure is you want to make sure that your thread is coming out of the bead sitting there in the center of your rectangle. So it's going to be the size 11 navy blue bead, okay, in the center. So I'm coming out of the top of that bead and I'm going to pick up, as I said, a total of 7 of my size 15s. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, let's see, a group of 4 plus a group of 3, so a total of 7. Slide those down on your thread and you're going to go through the opposite side of that seed bead sitting there in the center. Okay, and then what you want to do is reinforce that loop by going through all of the beads that you just added on. There we go. So I've gone through all of the size 15s that I've added on at the end of my piece. And now I'm going to carry on through this size 11. And I'm going to try to get my thread to the outside of my piece by going through the size 15. That's part of the rectangle actually. Okay. And I can create a knot right here by going through the center of my piece and then back through the loop. Okay, and I'm going to carry on through the bugle bead. And I can do another knot down there just to make sure that it's nice and secure. I actually had one viewer comment on carrying on with your thread through a few extra beads before cutting the thread. So if that's something that you want to do, you know, you can go ahead and try that. But in my case, I think I'm just going to cut it off right there. And I'm going to get rid of my excess thread there. I'm going to pick up my flat nose pliers, and I have a jump ring here on hand, which I'm going to insert through my loop, and I'm going to close it up. I've already done the loop on the other side of my necklace, as I usually do beforehand. So now all I need to do is pick up another jump ring, as well as my lobster claw. Okay, I'm going to attach those and then insert the jump ring into the other loop. Okay, and then you're going to close up your necklace or your bracelet or your anklet by opening up the lobster claw and inserting the jump ring. Okay, so that's your closure. That's how it's going to be finished. Okay, so that concludes our tutorial for today. It was pretty easy breezy. I like projects that are, you know, pretty straightforward, and they don't require a lot of thought, and it's kind of, you know, something you can do while you're watching TV or listening to music, you know, just relaxing. So I think it's a great piece. I love the way the rectangles sit, you know. They're very nice and strong. They're not wonky in any way. So it's great to be able to achieve, you know, a perfect rectangle. And yeah, I love the combination of navy blue and white. It's very nautical. And yeah, so anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching today's tutorial. I hope you enjoy wearing whatever it is that you made. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, so that you don't miss out on any future beading tutorials. I have a lot of other videos that I've posted in the past that you can definitely check out. And yeah, so thank you so much for spending your day with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, take care. Bye for now.